You're watching Laketoria Nights, a show where we talk about movies, TV shows, video games, and everything in between. I'm your werewolf, Kevin. Followed by your monster who was made by a mad scientist by the name of Frankenstein, Andy.
I'm actually quite intellectual, despite what everyone thinks of me.
And your vampire, CJ.
I have no words for you right now.
Welcome to our Halloween special.
Did you say Hollandween?
Something like that. Yeah, I think. Holland.
I'm gonna make that a new. That's gonna be a new holiday, celebrated only by Holland.
I don't know what the hell just happened right now, but I reject all of it.
So today on the show, we're going to fulfill another fan request. It's who would win in a fight, Dracula, the Wolfman, or Frankenstein? So I guess this is the second time we're doing something like this. Once again, we each chose somebody to research, and we're bringing the information to the table, and we're basically going, who would win in like a fight to the death, or just fighting in general? Well, I'll go to you, CJ, first, since you had Dracula.
There's a lot of versions of Dracula, and I feel like in my opinion, in comparison to the other combatants, is virtually unbeatable.
Yep. I'm gonna agree right now.
You ain't really beating Dracula. From every different version, from Bram Stoker's to Castlevania, to the 10 minutes of Dracula Untold that I still have not been told about because I did not finish the movie.
The sequel, Dracula, continued to be untold.
Yeah, Dracula's kind of the shit. You can, do everything. It just has to be at night.
So is Dracula the first vampire?
Depending on what lore, but more than often, yes.
So does he have any weaknesses other than, the stake to the heart and, what was it, sunlight? Right? Those are his two weaknesses?
His ego. Other than that, no. Like the sun, his ego, and a wooden stake. And I guess if you want to be corny, garlic.
Does garlic really kill them? I thought garlic was just like a repellent or something.
I think so.
Yeah, but I mean, if you can repel him, then I guess you can chase him all night until the sun comes up, and then he dies.
Thank God Frankenstein's monster has a wood-burning pizza oven. He's just gonna make a whole bunch of garlic pizza.
Yeah. All right, then. Let's move on to Frankenstein, then.
Is Frankenstein smart enough to make a pizza?
Yo, for what it's worth, Frankenstein's actually, extremely eloquent, really intellectual. Listen, man, he's a lover, not a fighter. That really sums up Frankenstein in a nutshell. He's someone who basically wants to be loved. I'm going off of the original book, but basically, when he was created and given life, he was so hideous that Frankenstein himself literally ran away from his own creation because it was so horrifying.
But didn't he collect the pieces to do that, though?
Is this the book or that movie Mask with Cher?
No.
I feel like that's what you just described.
Wait. So, with Frankenstein, because I always thought he was just like a slow, not really a slow, maybe an intelligent zombie?
Sort of. So basically, what ended up happening in the book, there was only so much you could do with special effects in movies when the first, Frankenstein movie was filmed, and that sort of set the precedent for what everyone's opinion was of him. In the original Mary Shelley book, Frankenstein's such a hideous monster that everyone sort of is terrified of him. The only person that ever actually befriends him is a blind man that he, introduces himself to. And then when the rest of his family show up, they freak out and chase Frankenstein's monster out of the cottage that he was in.
So did he kill anybody? I thought he killed
That
somebody.
really took the wind out of Frankenstein for me.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying Frankenstein's gonna lose. If we actually
Wait. So did Frankenstein fight? Did Frankenstein fight anybody?
At one point, I believe he threatens to destroy everything that actual Dr. Frankenstein loves if he doesn't make Frankenstein a bride. But I'm pretty sure he never actually acts on any sort of like physical violence, but I can't remember. It's been a really long time since I read the book.
So Frankenstein is more like Herman Munster.
Yeah, sort of. He's like a really gentle, eloquent character. He learns how to completely speak English in a matter of like days, basically, by eavesdropping on a conversation that a family has.
So he's incredibly intelligent then.
Yeah, realistically, yeah. He's very smart. I guess he's strong, but we don't really know.
I'm still blown away that Herman Munster is an accurate depiction of Frankenstein.
Yeah, he's actually probably like the most accurate depiction of Frankenstein.
That's a little disappointing, I guess.
It really is.
If you go with like the classic Frankenstein movies where he's like a super strong like zombie that can't talk and shit like that, then yeah, I mean he'd probably be better in a fight. But I wanted to go with the original source material because I feel like that's the best way to look at this.
Oh, so does anyone remember the movie where there was a guy who was playing Frankenstein and he was basically like kicking everybody's asses and like killing gargoyles and crap? And I vaguely remember it, and it just kind of disappeared as fast as it came. And I was like, man, this Frankenstein's pretty cool. He's like kicking people's butts and jumping in the air, and he's like, I don't know.
I do not remember that version of Frankenstein.
Don't either, but now I want to.
I thought there was maybe I'm making it up, or maybe he's not Frankenstein, maybe he's something else, and I assumed he was Frankenstein.
You really need to stop.
Every Frankenstein I've ever seen has this stiff walking motion, and I feel like it does not have the ability to jump.
But yeah, basically just consider him a like slow lumbering brute who is actually like surprisingly intelligent.
All right then. Well, I had the Wolfman. There's a lot of literature on wolfmen and wolf people, and I didn't realize that werewolves were broken up into so many different factions. There we go. So many different factions that I was just like, holy crap. I think the Wolfman falls close to the European werewolf, which kind of has the upper right body that walks around and just starts eating people. They have no control whatsoever, so I'm like, okay, I guess that is what I thought a werewolf was. When I was watching Van Helsing? Why can't I say
Van Helsing?
Yeah, Van Helsing.
No. Van
listening to
Helsing.
Van Halen and started.
You said Van Helsing.
No, Kevin. Van Helsing.
Either way, I was watching the movie.
Kevin's over here listening to Van Halen albums and like thinking about the Wolfman.
Either way, I was watching the movie and I noticed that I guess that they had Frankenstein and Dracula and the Wolfman, or not really the Wolfman, just a werewolf in general, was the one that beat Dracula in the end, which was kind of weird.
They're sort of
and I'm
like
okay.
An apex predator.
And then when I was watching Underworld, it was kind of the same thing where the vampires and the werewolves were fighting again. And it's always like the vampires need a weapon in order to compete with the werewolf strength, because I guess when they transform, they're like 5 times the strength of a normal person. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's cool. But in any of the Wolfman stuff, like the original Wolfman things that you watch, it's kind of, well, it's regular people going up against the Wolfman. So unless you have,
of course they're gonna get wrecked.
So unless you have like silver bullets or something, that's that. Oh, or if you say the Wolfman's real name, he'll transform back.
Is he Rumpelstiltskin?
Yeah, but I mean, if you run into a random werewolf, you're not gonna know his name, so you're like,
I wouldn't
crap,
think to yell his name either.
This is it. You'd be like, wait a minute, no, you're Jeff. You were my Uber driver like 10 minutes ago.
You think I'm gonna be running away? Jeff, John, Bill, Andy, Amanda, Andrew. Ah, there it is, Andrew. Now we're gonna fight. Like, no, get out of here. And we're not just talking about vampires. We're talking about Dracula, who is a skilled fighter. I feel like your Wolfman would be impaled.
I don't think my Wolfman would be impaled, because I don't know what else Dracula would do. And everything else that I've seen Dracula in, he's either super old or already dead, or he's just a weird. I guess.
Don't forget, he's also loving it.
I was so about to say that.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I feel like the Wolfman would have an edge. I feel like the Wolfman would have an edge because he's stronger. I feel like he's strong.
Only during a full moon.
Well, how are you going to know where the werewolf is if there's no full moon?
That'd be the best. Dracula
You're
just
like,
runs.
Dracula would probably be able to smell him out.
Here's how this works out. The night of the full moon, werewolf attacks Dracula. Dracula says, F that, turns into a bat and flies away, and then follows him back and kills him the next morning.
wait, who would kill who the next morning?
Dracula.
Dracula can't come out in the morning.
No, Dracula can't come outside, but he can go to a house nearby the werewolf and stay inside the house and watch the werewolf and kill him inside.
And stay away from the house, because how are you going to kill him in the morning? As soon as the sun comes out, it's death.
I mean, at night,
And the
he's
werewolf-
not going to
and the
turn
werewolf-
into a werewolf, so he can just wait. He's like, yo, dog, I know who you are. You're on Facebook.
I feel like Dracula would be able to smell out a werewolf with his heightened sense.
I feel like a werewolf could do the same thing for Dracula.
Yeah, but Dracula's not hiding.
Here's how this is going to play out.
There's a werewolf.
Huh, you want to know how it plays out, Andy? I'm going to tell you. During my research, Universal put out a black and white movie of Frankenstein versus Dracula versus the Wolfman.
Oh,
you wanna,
What?
You want to know how it ends?
How?
Dracula's castle is collapsing because of all the damage during the fight. Dracula tries to turn into a bat and fly away. The Wolfman jumps and grabs Dracula as a bat, and they both fall into the water and die. And the castle collapses on the dumb Frankenstein, and then it just says the end. And all three of them die.
Yeah, so Frankenstein definitely lives through that because he's Frankie.
Well, I don't know, because the
whoa,
castle was.
He's a zombie.
Look it up. The castle was like. For some reason, this castle was built, like, on a river. Like, a raging river. So when it collapsed, it was, like, flooding at the same time. And, like, Dracula jumped out, turned into a bat. And for some reason, because it wasn't even explained how because the Wolfman was just fighting or getting beaten up by Frankenstein a second ago. So when Dracula flew away, there's no way the Wolfman could even got to Dracula. For some reason he did. And Dracula took like 2 like wing flaps, and the Wolfman just jumps and grabs him by the wings, and they just fall into the water and drown together. And then like Frankenstein, you see him in the castle, he's like, huh? What? And then like stones fall on him, and then the rest of the castle collapse, and he drowns in the water, I guess, because he ends up in the water too. And then the townspeople just cheer, and then it says the end, and at the bottom it says by Universal Pictures.
I don't know how to feel about that. That seems like a crappy ending.
That was the most cop-out ending possible.
It was. It was an old black and white movie.
Here's how I see this actually playing out. Dracula and the Wolfman fight each other, and Frankenstein just kind of sits there. He's like, yep, gonna let that happen.
Winner builds me a wife.
Well, I kind of see Frankenstein doing that because I don't know, because I feel like Dracula is smarter than Frankenstein, so I feel like
Dracula's
probably
probably
see
smarter
what's
than
going
the
on.
werewolf as well.
The werewolf isn't intelligent. The werewolf is a berserker.
Dracula's probably like sit, Ubu, sit.
I don't think Dracula has the skill to outlast the werewolf at all.
Dracula is a
he's
skilled
undead.
warrior.
Yeah, okay, you can be undead and missing an arm and having your parts being separated
No,
from itself.
but you said he wouldn't have the stamina. Stamina doesn't come into play when you don't have to breathe.
Well, I don't think you could keep up with a werewolf.
Oh,
I don't think Dracula could keep up with a
fine.
werewolf.
I was just talking
But I'm
about
saying,
stamina.
Dracula has powers. I mean, he can like summon the undead and other demons. He can compel people.
He can summon other demons?
Haven't you watched Castlevania? Did you
Okay,
see
fine.
what he did
Are
to
we
that
using-
town?
Okay, fine. Yeah, I saw what he did to the town.
And you think a werewolf is standing up to that?
I believe so.
Yeah, for like 8 episodes.
You did miss picking the strongest vampire, which is Dio Brando.
Alright, end the episode, Kevin.
Fine, we're ending the episode. we haven't really come to a consensus yet, and I feel like in order for us to do that, we have to pick like one Dracula and one Wolfman, I guess. But I guess if we're using that, Dracula probably would be able to beat the Wolfman from the movie Wolfman. So
here's my thing. I think Frankenstein loses outright. If we're just like, the thing is, his biggest, I guess, strength was that people are afraid of him, but Dracula and the Wolfman are not going to give a shit about that. And other than that, we don't know, like, what other sort of physical abilities he has.
any final words? We're ending the episode. And CJ, any last words before we end?
I'll volunteer to have Frankenstein lose this one, if you guys can pick a winner between the two of you.
I just said Dracula would beat the Wolfman in the movie.
Okay.
I just said that.
And I agree.
Okay.
Sit, Ubu, sit.
Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein.
Okay. Last word, CJ?
Happy Halloween.
Andy?
That was a really nice message, CJ.
Yeah, that was. Over in Trick or Treat, check your candy too. People are weird out there.
Before we end, I would like to thank David Brown for the big idea. Thank you. We appreciate you. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. So this is CJ, Andy, and Kevin signing off. Watch more movies and play all the video games.
P.S. to David Brown, if you pick another fight, like who would win, be more specific with your characters that you pick. There are far too many versions of these characters to narrow it down.